welcome back to Dark Woke, your direct link to all things politics, comedy, and culture. I am your host, Janaya Future Khan, champ yapper and frequent nuisance in the activist and comedy worlds. Let's get dialed in. But just before we jump, Dark Woke is a self-funded, self-produced show. We're on Patreon/Dark Woke. I am so grateful for all the support and for you just taking the time to listen. Okay, yesterday I definitely went both Girl Interrupted and A Beautiful Mind. Way too many clips and not enough time to sit in them, but the gist of the conversation or the point was sort of there, which is there are different ways in which we have to think about our message box moving forward. But don't worry, I got us covered. I'm going to round it out tonight because I was laying there at like 3 a.m. and I was just like, what did you do? Like, it's just... So we're going to be talking about all the good things. Ugh, Musk, yuck. Kennedy, yuck. ssris, cool. But I want us to start with the best possible news that we could get under these awful times, which is Leonard Peltier is finally free. He's finally free. Yay. 50 years he has been a political prisoner, right? An indigenous man who had the audacity to fight for justice for himself, for his people, for his community, for racial justice, you name it. And, you know, if you know anything about the case, the whole thing felt really made up. So I just want to preface with saying that this is an innocent man. This is an innocent man. He was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms for the death of 2 FBI agents. Now, I want to be really clear about something. Leonard Peltier was a part of AIM, the American Indian Movement. This is a Cold War era liberation group that addressed police brutality, sought to address that. It addressed discrimination against indigenous people. It focused on racial justice and indigenous sovereignty. It was awesome. So Peltier was a part of AIM, and then he was also a member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians in North Dakota. So he was very active in his communities. I want it to be really clear that the 2 FBI agents that died in a shootout, right? They entered private property, right? So that was the South Dakota's Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. These 2 FBI agents, they walk in there, private property, to serve arrest warrants and got into a shootout with members of AIM. So they were killed, and then also one Native man was killed named Joseph Stuntz. Here's what's fascinating, right? Peltier has consistently said that he was there with them, like with the, on the other side of the shootout with the agents, but he did not himself shoot the gun. What's fascinating, right? What's fascinating is that he was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder and given those 2 consecutive life sentences, but the 2 other movement members were acquitted on self-defense grounds. So there's precedent there, right? There's precedent. They were able to prove that the agents were, in fact, the aggressors, but somehow Peltier was not part of that package. It was because he was considered too respected. He was too much of a leader. He was too all the things, right? His supporters have long argued that prosecutors withheld critical evidence that could have supported his defense while also fabricating affidavits against him, right? So this is what he had to say. There wasn't any, I couldn't find footage of him, but I have quotes here. They may have imprisoned me, but they never took my spirit. And that has an exclamation mark, which means he yelled it, which is awesome. Thank you to all my supporters throughout the world who fought for my freedom, right? It was Biden who commuted his sentence. That being said, as relieved as I am, Leonard Peltier is now 80 years old. He's had declining health for years. You're going to have that as an 80-year-old, but it's going to be even worse when you're in a prison. It took too long. And the entire point of this, why that generation, right, from the 60s to the 70s, why that generation of political activists were murdered and or imprisoned the way that they were, was so that you and I would never exist, right? The whole point, they thought, if we could decimate an entire generation of political leadership, they won't do this again. We'll teach them a lesson. That, and, You might think, well, why aren't they doing that now? Well, forensics caught up, okay? It's a lot harder to just frame people, although they still try. But the whole point was to incite fear, and if you took out the leadership, then the movements would fall apart. If you flooded them with, interlopers and insurrectionists, then you could destroy these movements when murder and life imprisonment was not possible. There were constant setups. So this is huge and also bittersweet. And Peltier is not just, a former political prisoner who's free now, right? This is somebody who he's not a victim alone. His work didn't stop because he was in prison. He's a fighter, a writer, an activist, a grandfather, a Nobel Peace Prize nominee, right? He's had a robust and active life, but years, right? And life experience was stolen from him, and really stolen from us. So I am so moved by his lifelong dedication. I feel very similar to Mumia and Sundiata and all these other folks, but the consequences, right? In this country, if you fight injustice or war crimes, if you fight against those things, you will be persecuted and prosecuted far more harshly than anyone who perpetuates those things. That is what it means. And I want to round this out with something, right, that I think is really important here. Whatever we do, right, I know everything seems so big and so terrible right now. All the things that we're doing, it's having real impact, right? It doesn't matter how small it is. It matters. Like, take these, these anti-ICE movements, right, that have been happening. It's really easy to say, well, I just shared an infographic. Maybe that's not enough. I've got to do so much more. And the opportunities to do more will absolutely come. But I want to play this clip of John Oliver. And he's talking about AOC and the work that all of you and everyone out there that's doing to inform people of their rights and how effective it can be. And they're doing they have great migrant justice work in Chicago. And again, I've mentioned that in a previous episode, but it's very effective. Like, we are frustrating them. And, the same way that Peltier's work never ended, right? Ours doesn't stop just because there's not the big things to do. No, the very idea of resistance is enough to incite action from this government. If they have clearly demonstrated that. So I wanted to start us out because this is in this place and ground us. A, because I'm less nuts today than I was yesterday. It's a slippery slope. And B, because this is really important. This is why the work matters.
Not the only moment of courage that we have seen. A doctor here in New York told his patients, "I'm willing to go to jail to continue to provide your gender-affirming care." And in many cities, groups like these fighting.
Sorry, he's talking about something else, and then he goes into the points. But gender care is also something that we'll be talking about probably in tomorrow's episode.
More immigrants have coordinated responses to ICE raids. In fact, remember Trump's border czar Tom Homan taking Dr. Phil and a bunch of cameras out on raids? In Chicago, which he'd said would be ground zero for their mass deportation plans, those raids were less successful than he wanted them to be, and he was pretty open about why.
I mean, sanctuary cities are making it very difficult to arrest the criminals. For instance, Chicago, very well educated. They've been educated how to defy ICE, how to hide from ICE. And I've seen many pamphlets from many NGOs. Here's how you escape ICE from arresting you. Here's what you need to do. They call it Know Your Rights.
He's so fucking mad. Can you hear how mad he is? So do you remember? I remember Tom Homan. Yeah. That guy, the border czar, he's big mad. He's in his feelings.
I call it how to escape arrest. There's a warrant for your arrest, and they tell you how to hide from ICE. No, don't open your door. Don't answer questions.
Right. And that is good advice.
Yes.
Also, if you're relying on people not knowing their rights in order to do your job, it seems like you might be part of the problem here. And all else aside, I fully get why people are not letting you in particular into their home. You're a thumb-headed weirdo with terrible vibes. You look and sound like J.K. Simmons choking on a marble, and I am rooting for the marble.
Okay. That is a great place to kick us off, because that was amazing. That was so good. Now, we get into the annoying things. We get into the annoying things that we have to know about. So, today, a federal judge declined to block Musk accessing our tax info, amongst other private information. And why is because the judge said it's, quote, the possibility of harm, right? That's the word. The possibility of harm is not enough. It's not enough of a legal justification. And I'm like, how about the precedent of harm, you simple bitch, right? This guy goes out of his way to harm anyone he thinks of as an enemy, anyone who has slighted him, anyone who could even represent the possibility of a threat. Why does it matter that Elon Musk might get our tax info? That's the question that we always have to answer. So why are critics worried? Why should we be worried? Mainly, the big one is obviously privacy. So the groups suing say that any mishandling of records could expose tens of millions of people's personal financial information. Just remember, all this information, all the profiles and all AI algorithms, they all learn from us. The exchange of data, our personal data that we give over to social media. That's how these guys got to be billionaires, right? The things that we take for granted, our consumer profiles, the things that we search up, how targeted ads have become so good, right, is all because of the collection of our personal data. If the richest man in the world is angling to get our personal financial data, I promise you, it is for a reason that is predatory and gross, right? The other big issue, very big issue, I would say urgent, is the weaponization of the IRS, all right? These niggas do not play. The IRS, yeah. So what happens when Elon Musk decides, right, when he says, I don't like any member of the Associated Press anymore. I'm going to use the IRS to absolutely fuck over their lives, right? Everybody's getting audited. Everybody's being indicted on some bullshit, right? That weaponization of the IRS is something that Elon Musk is 100% capable of. So the same critics who are suing for this say that the information could be used for political vendettas, right? Targeting opponents for audits or leaking private information, right? So Elon Musk and his associates are already using the government as a weapon against regular, everyday people. It's all one major cash grab, and it's part of their own political agenda. He absolutely targets people he doesn't like. The list of agencies that he is currently attacking has everything to do with the fact that they have investigated him. So I hate this man, is what I'm saying. I fucking hate this man. And I didn't know that there are depths that I didn't know I could reach. I'm so motivated. To watch this person fall. Anyway, okay. That makes me so mad. In good news, though, in very good news, the asteroid that's headed towards Earth is now marginally closer. How about that? That's amazing. 7 years. We're 7 years out. And now it has an even, a higher chance of hitting us. It went from like 1 point something to 2%. There's a 2% chance of hitting Earth in 2032. I want to be really clear. This is not going to hit the way that the dinosaur era asteroid hit. This asteroid is too small. This is like a building. This is an apartment building size asteroid. So that means that it's going to have regional devastation in the event that it were to hit. What I'm saying is, witches, do your thing. Girls, listen, just, little guidance, just a little regional. Speed it up a little bit. They're all in the same place right now. That's all I'm saying. They're just all in the same place. They're all in the same place. Okay, now. Okay. I do need to talk about, because we have to hit the parts that matter, right? This stupid government is going to throw away, right? They're right now debating on whether or not they should destroy $500 million worth of stockpiled COVID tests. I hate these people. 15,000 people in the past year have died from flu. Why? Because their immune systems are compromised. Why? Because COVID, you guys, COVID, right? We know. So they're thinking, and they will very likely shut down the program that shipped free COVID tests to American households and has been considering, and they've been considering destroying 160 million tests. Didn't they say that they were against waste? Not to say that there is some kind of gotcha with these snakes. It just doesn't exist, right? So the other thing that we got going on, oh, right. The USDA accidentally fired officials working on bird flu. Amazing stuff. Great stuff here. They said now, once they realized their mistake, right, a spokesperson from the agriculture department told NBC that they were working to swiftly rectify the situation. I'm saying all of this so that we understand that in our bodies that these people are incompetent. They have no desire to govern. This is just one major cash grab. That's all that this is, right? But I do need to talk about something a little bit serious and a little bit funny. It's serious. It's also a little bit fun. Okay. So RFK, right? This lunatic, right? Within hours of getting the job. So he's officially got the job now. I'm reminded of the whole, like, great. Yeah. We're going to have, under this government. Yeah. We're absolutely, I'm recalling this. What did I say the last time? Yeah. A 13-year-old pregnant girl who's illiterate and has polio, right? But at least there's not a pride flag. That's where we're at right now. Like, we're here. So within hours of officially getting the job, Kennedy released a statement detailing what he hoped to accomplish in his first few months, right? And one of the things he specifically highlighted was, quote, the threat posed by the prescription of selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or ssris, right? These are a lot of antidepressive medication. And it includes things like, down his list, Adderall, anti-psych meds, right? And what is his solution? What is his solution to getting rid of these things? Because he is saying, right? So this move was first reported by the Washington Post. So he has falsely stated that ssris are more addictive than heroin and contribute to school shootings. No, that's actually not the case. But here's the best part. Rather than ensure that people get the medications that they need, right? Because this is not about our rebuking of big pharma and all the work around Medicare and Medicaid and healthcare that needs to be done. No, this is the dismantling of any infrastructure that currently exists. He said that he's going to create rehabilitation wellness farms. Wellness farms, right? For people with drug-related issues. And that's not people who struggle with addiction. These are people who need medications to function, right? And either way, nobody should be sent to a wellness farm. This sounds like fucking a plantation with a millennial spin. Can we just be honest for a second, right? So he goes, no, this is my favorite part, right? He said that you can go to these programs for rehabilitation, and it would include job training and growing organic food for their own consumption. Y'all, can we just... You are talking about a plantation. He's talking about a plantation. But here's my favorite part. You're going to take away Adderall and Vyvanse and whatnot from people with ADHD and then put them to work? Good luck. What are they going to do? Tell them to go work in a field. They're going to be wandering around and see some trees and shit. Have a good talk. They're going to frolic. Nobody's working. Are you nuts? They're going to bounce. Are you going to put these, are you also going to, what I want to know is, are you going to put these wellness farms around the, what is it? What's that called? When you do the thing, conversion camps. No, put them beside each other. That's what we should do. Put them, and then while you're at it, because he's got a crusade against sweets, he has a crusade against fat people. No, put us all in the same place. Honestly, I'm just gonna say it. Like, we have talked about this, right? We've talked. You're gonna put us in conversion camp. We have talked about going off on our own and living on a farm somewhere. And just fucking doing art and drinking box wine. We might be able to do that with some government sponsorship, y'all. I'm just saying, because I'm going to tell you this. If they put us all in the same place, you're going to have the gays, right? We're going to have the gays out there. These are not, listen. Do you think the gays are going to have us living out in the woods? The fashion boys? No. The twink architects are going to be yelling at RFK about how we need to be in a modernized Victorian with upgraded closets. Like, I'm not mad at this. This could work out for us. But jokes aside, also he's talking about anti-vaccines and how they cause autism. And I'm just like, you're going to put the autistics to bring them. Let's go. Oh my God, we'll have so much engineering happening. We'll go back to, our etymology, our ecologies. We're going to have trains. You're going to take away depression meds. They're going to go into Sylvia Plath mode. We're going to get the best. It's going to be a renaissance of art. No, give people their drugs, but I don't mind this vision. I'm like, let's go. I hate it here. Let's get out of here. No, this is truly an attack. The first move in attacking every kind of disability right and protection. Like, that's what this is. Like, this is very much the testing ground for an entire anti-disability movement that the right will be perpetuating. That's what this is. I'm a bit heady. I came in, I was lighter earlier, but I think I'm heady. I'll just be straight. I've been having sleep trouble and just, the work stuff, but I'm in this with y'all. This is my favorite part of the day. But I was like, where's all my jokes? And I'm like, I went from psychotic yesterday to just very mute today. But after tomorrow, tomorrow's recording, I'll be much more because the moving stuff. And there's another big situation happening tomorrow morning, but then I can be locked in. But that's what this is about. That's this whole thing is just the early moves, because they're hitting us everywhere, right? Feed us a culture war, attack trans folks, then attack, black folks when they already have done on the cultural level, right? And then rolling back voter rights and gerrymandering and all these things. But all of this is leading to the same types of things: women's rights, racial justice, right? And disability rights. So they can get rid of those things, which are the bedrock of our legal rights and protections. These are the things that people fought for and died for to get us, right? That's how they can get this going. So I can't stand them for a lot of reasons. And I will go to camp, but only willingly. We didn't have camps. I want to know what that's like. Everybody has this like little cute summer camp story. I didn't go to no summer camp. Anywho, time to round out the thing from some of the shit from yesterday, because there was some good stuff there. We've had, the work is being done. We're out here, but there is something that I read that's really funny, you guys. It's so bad, but it's so funny. Okay, hold on. I just need to tell you this. I read this today. It's so bad. Woman says a black man held her against her will and forced her to watch Roots to understand racism. Listen to me. This is terrible. Also objectively funny. Terrible, though. So bad. So somebody said happy BHM, right? And then posted this. So I look, and it's from 2020. So it's already happened. But like, terrible, but so like he made her watch Roots. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, just generally, but the irony of telling her she has to watch Roots while capturing her against her will and then subjecting her to forced education. Okay, no. In understanding, right, the guiding anchor question of like, what is my best contribution now? We need to be doing so much more political education. And as it is Black History Month, I saw this Trevor Noah clip and I wanted to tee it up. And then I kind of want to talk about it a little bit. And then we're going to round out this episode with finishing where we started, which is just, yesterday, which is just rounding out that conversation on our message box. But first and foremost, right, that political education work is so key. So Trevor said something I found really interesting. It came out in a podcast, his podcast on Spotify, and the right were like so upset about it. They're just upset by all Black people, like Cynthia Erivo, right? The Broadway star turned like blockbuster superstar actress. She's Black, she's gay, right? Well, queer, right? She's Black, she's queer, she's beautiful, can sing just an unbelievable voice, right? And she's bald, and they're upset because she's going to be Jesus and Jesus Christ superstar, and they're so mad about it. And I'm just like, are you faggots or not? Like, what is it? Right? Like, do you know what you're talking about or not? Like, because this is not your business, right? You can't be homophobic and then talk like you know about Jesus Christ Superstar. You fucking don't. It's a rock musical. I'm just going to need you to get it together. Anyway, they've just been like upset. So they were in their feelings about that. They're never not going to be in their feelings. I've never seen a group of people more committed to misery. Like, you want everything. You know what I mean? Like, chill. It's so funny watching them try to be like, see how they've taken over, because they can't say that anymore. But they can throw bitch fits constantly. Anyway, so they're upset about that. But they were upset about this, which I found really interesting since, so this is a conversation that Trevor Noah is having, I think, with his producer, but also with Ruha Benjamin, who is a professor at Princeton. I'm familiar with her work. So she's associate professor of AA studies at Princeton. But I became familiar with her work because of a book, Race After Technology, that she released in 2019, and then Viral Justice, where she's talking about how we grow the world we want to live in. So she is super, super smart, and they are talking about integration versus segregation. And what I'm realizing over and over again is that we can't take certain things for granted, right? So this is what they were in their feelings, but I'm going to play this clip for you right quick. And then we're just going to get into it because, it's Black History Month. We got to be talking about the matters of Blackness. So here we go.
I found myself wondering, and this applies to America, and then maybe it'll go to other places in a different way because Finland ties in. Do you think that integration was the right move? Like, and now I'm separating two things because I know in America people are like, well, of course, I mean, there was racism and there's segregation, and I go, yeah, no, I'm separating them. Let's separate someone being oppressed and someone not being able to get a job and someone not being able to get a bank loan. Let's take all of those, the negative things away, because I'll put myself out personally and say, I think whether we're talking about gifted kids who are anomalous, let's say, to the norm, whether we are talking about and I mean anything that does not fit into a category, I think the part of the reason Finland is able to do it is because, have you been to Finland?
It's very homogeneous.
I've been to Finland. You know who's in Finland? Finnish people. That's it. That's it. And because they're all Finnish, there's an idea of like, no, we all head in the same direction. We all know what our actions mean. And that's a really powerful thing I've learned in communicating with other people. When I'm in a room with anyone where we start to tie together multiple things. So if I'm in a room with Black people, already there's like an implicit trust because we know what certain actions, words, and vibes mean. And then you're in a room with another African. Already. This person. Now, even if you shout at me, I know what your shout means. The same way an Italian knows what an Italian shout means.
Yeah.
Right? I know I'm prefacing it with a lot because it's a loaded question.
Yes.
But I would love to know if you think integration was the right solution, maybe, on the other side of, you know, what America, of civil rights.
Yeah.
So right before they answer, and there was a lot of qualifying. And at some point, we need to talk about rhetoric on our side and how we spend way too much time qualifying and equivocating instead of just standing on business and making those declarative statements, which is what comedy is so good for. And it feels far riskier, but it's so much clearer when we communicate. But this is this question, right? Segregation, integration has been one that is part of the lexicon of sort of Black dialogue, of Black critical thought. And I'm going to get into it, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of context that this is not out of the blue. This is something that is very much, part of the dialogue in you know, Black liberation struggles and theories and whatever. And it's a question that's come up, that comes up all the time.
No, I don't. And I don't think it's actually that controversial when if you understand that segregation.
Sorry, I want to pull it back a bit because I want the impact of the question. I yapped and then the punch of her thing. Just pretend that I did not interject because I want the punch. Hold on, here we go.
Side of, you know, what America, of civil rights.
Yeah. No, I don't. And I don't think it's actually that controversial when if you understand that segregation and integration weren't the only options. Like those are within those two options, it may seem like integration is the more progressive. Like, of course, we don't want segregation. But again, when you're being integrated into institutions, into a culture that's a supremacist culture, that's a culture that feeds off of hierarchy, that feeds off of insecurity, anxiety, why are we being integrated into that?
Right. Okay. So what is that all about? What does it mean? For one, there is a flaw in the question, which I think Ruha did a great job of sort of interjecting, right? It wasn't simply innovation or integration or segregation, right? There were a lot of Black movements, Black people, Black scholars, Black journalists that were against integration. I think the story that gets championed here, and in the zeitgeist as a whole, is that, you know, it's what MLK was fighting for, and you know, and everybody else was fighting for in society, and it was the end of something. But a lot of Black scholars, freedom fighters, thinkers, were understood that there's an argument to be made because integration has not benefited the Black community. The wealth gap, the racial wealth gap is wider than it's ever been. And I want to be clear, like, I don't think separation is ever the answer. It's whether or not integration actually ever happened, right? Because the idea was we can, like, it wasn't the idea of integration at the time wasn't that, oh, we'll be better off, like we'll get smarter by being around white people. I want to be really clear, right? So even for those who were for it at a time when a lot of prominent scholars and organizers were against integration, because Black communities were doing really well prior to integration. Black schools were growing, Black businesses were thriving. And there is an argument to be made for how integration undercut that growth and created a second class of citizen. That was already a second class of citizen, but now it was under the guise of equality. So any type of failure, however structured it was systemically, was a personal failure, right? And so, what does she mean when she say institutional? Remember, think of the stairs in your head again. So we have bias, right? So that's the stair. That's the lowest case. Then you have bias is what's inside of us. Prejudice is when we start to say those things out loud and treat people differently as a result. Discrimination is when we actually create social spaces based on those prejudices and biases that exclude populations of people. So discrimination, like, I'm not going to hire you because you look this way, or we don't want Black people in country clubs, right? That's discrimination. So, and then racism is sort of, it's a power structure. So we use it colloquially all the time. I'll use it as a joke, if I say something out of pocket or something, but at the end of the day, racism is specific to power. So when she says institutional racism, what she's talking about is that belief system that's now been a belief system. So the things that we have inside of our heads and bodies or whatever, that it permeates society. So you can see the same kinds of beliefs about women or Black people or migrants pretty much anywhere that you go, right? Whether it's the prison industrial complex or the academic industrial complex, we're doing the grocery store, we're just walking around. So that's an institutional racism is sort of that culmination of discrimination and racism built into these systems. So that's why we needed things like affirmative action or DEI to as an attempt to rectify those injustices. But of course, none of it did, right? So not completely. So we need to move away from, I think, binary logic. It doesn't work. And why I felt this was so key is because I think it's time. I think this is a good time while we're doing in this research phase and paying attention, very close attention to the cracks forming around this government and what their power grabs are. This is a good time to not take things for granted, to not take what we know or don't know for granted. I'm so like, wow, I just do like a full 180 because I have really, as I mentioned yesterday, have been operating my personal gripes and things that I want to see shift on the left were very much stuck on, a Democratic win and not this new fascistic government. So anyway, okay. Yap. I just be yapping. Okay. But the thing I wanted to, so yesterday I played the Jesse Waters clip where he was like, he was talking about the information pipeline, but really the disinformation pipeline, right? So somebody says something online. This is Jesse Waters, at Fox News anchor. And basically said somebody says something online. Musk retweets that. That retweet goes everywhere. Then Joe Rogan repeats that thing. And that goes out to millions more people. And then, Trump, and they all work together in an information ecosystem that we actually don't have on the left. Because the assumption is that legacy media is that. And it never has been. I dare say we could hardly make the case that they're some sort of liberals or progressive, but they're considered the norm. And then we were kind of lumped into that, which is really weird. And I think this is a great moment for us to separate from, because they are dismantling the entire education apparatus as we know it. Public education is being 100% fucking gutted. And in that, there's an opportunity to build something far better and far robust in the future. Am I being optimistic? Sure. And that's a choice. That's a choice that we get to make, right? What do I want to fight for? That's what I want to fight for. That's what I want to fight for, right? And that means but first and foremost, we do that political education here. So the thing I forgot to mention yesterday was what he does. First of all, he was saying that it's this new information ecosystem. I'm like, no, it's literally the disinformation pipeline. But what he inadvertently emphasized was that reactionary messages only persuade through repetition, not through reason, right? Reactionary message only persuade through repetition, not through reason. And so we have to know when we're doing a reactionary message, right? That's repetition, repetition, repetition. And through reason, I think we reason our way through lots of things. We reason our way through everything, honestly, because that's what smart people do. But that's not enough. And we're getting towards the end. But I want to play this clip by who? Okay, two things. One is why we don't have this ecosystem. And funny enough, I'm going to be playing a clip from Milo Yiannopoulos, who was on Tim Pool's podcast. These are fucking not who you, but you know, I told you I'm up in these alleyways. And Milo Yiannopoulos is he was a conservative yapper and somebody that a few years ago I really was paying attention to because I was like, he's charming, he's fast talking, he's whatever, and he predates Candace Owens and all these other folks, and he understands culture work, but he was unafraid, he didn't equivocate, and of course because he's gay, the right turn on him, it's far more complicated than that. And then of course he had a moment again with Ye, but they just took some shit out of proportion. And we don't need to give context to that, but it was just pretty wild. But anyway, Milo Yiannopoulos is talking about how these systems happen. And for the record, Tim Pool is somebody who at one point called himself a liberal, which is fucking laughable. And who has recently just been in the fucking news for accepting Russian money, even though he swears to God he has no idea how that happened. I'm like, really? Cool, great. But Milo breaks down how that infrastructure comes to be, right? How does the right have such a clear pipeline?
It is no secret.
Oh, and the Majority Report. I got this from the Majority Report. That is a left-leaning platform, so that's great. So they're the people in the corner. In case you're watching this,
that a lot of bad money has gone to people on the right and on the center right. But it's typically the case that right-wing people will go and get investors rather than do advertisers. Fake it till they make it, and then they'll get sort of the big ticket advertisers. So the way Ben Shapiro, the way Candace get famous is they get Wilkes Brothers or they get some other kind of billionaire money, and they buy engagement, they buy followers, and they sort of propel themselves to the top of the heap and then fake it till they make it, and then eventually it's kind of sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Not everybody does that.
Everybody
okay.
does not do that.
Well, we've never done anything like
everybody
that.
does not do that.
And he says everybody does not do that. Yes, because on the left we rely on organic growth, right? There's no billionaire investors that are coming in and saying, "Oh, let's make this left-leaning platform the thing." And even when in the cases where things consider themselves to be left, like the Lincoln Project, that was a fucking useless. They made fucking videos, but they were just able to liberals will just throw, the liberals who have money will just throw. And we're so past the point of like, you know what I mean? Like, I think I already said this, but it's just like, I have privilege. I'm like, I need white people with more privilege. That's what we need. First of all, I can't stand that framing as it is, because it's great to understand yourself, but not to understand other people in the world, right? That's what we have a class analysis for. But I'm like, what are we going to do during the revolution? Split the check? Nigga, come on. Give me white people with privilege. More of you. What? Nepotism? Yes, bring it. But we rely more on organic growth. So it's not, but you see, they buy followers, they do this, they do that. So anytime we're online and we're seeing all this like wild engagement on that side, a lot of it is curated. And that matters because we can get under the belief that it's some sort of failure on our side. And it's actually not. And I'm going to end with here, right before we just jump into this question of the day. because Jack Schlossberg, who's connected and related to the Kennedy family. Oh, shoot, we're right here on time. I'm just going to play this really quickly. So he's talking to Jen Psaki, who, kind of bombed talking to Jon Stewart because there was nothing of substance. But Jack's been great on the internet. Super gay, said some shit, is good at getting attention. And that's the economy we live in. So I just want to play this real quick for you. And then I'm going to get us out of here.
What have you found, either from your own experimentation with playing around with social media platforms, or even just from listening to and consuming the products of some of the people you may totally disagree with, works?
Yeah, I mean, I have like a few thoughts. I think one is the internet is like a nuanced destruction machine. And so there's no room for qualifying anything ever. Don't waste your time. If you're going to tweet something out, like make it so extreme that you can't, that it's completely, that's what Trump does. It's like a completely clear statement. Take it all the way. And that's the only thing that really resonates online, because everything else, it's too confusing otherwise. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is you have to be controversial or unexpected. So you have to be very clear and you have to be very controversial in order to break through, I think. And conservatives are good at playing with that without getting in trouble. And I don't know that we've come up with our own style of being funny and taking risks. And people talk a lot about how Democrats lost young men in this election. And I think a huge part of that is like not because we focus on the wrong policies, but because we seem so risk averse and we seem so cautious. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that in general, young men find that as attractive as a more risk on kind of say whatever you want attitude.
What have you...
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So look, there's shit, we're at time. Okay. So there's a couple of things there. The idea, I think we have to get past this idea that we need to like frame our message box around a specific subset of people. But the risk averse part is 100% true. We've become so risk averse, and it's partly because every time somebody says something, it's like, did you think about this population? Or, you're gonna get accused of something by someone, and I think we have to get the fuck over that. It doesn't work. But we do a thing where we constantly qualify what we say. And I'm very keen on us figuring out what our way of what is our method, like what is controversial to us now that we're back to being controversial again, because we weren't for a while, right? We weren't. We got too mainstreamed, stopped wearing our dirty cutoffs and our fucking buttons, and they took our haircuts, they took our fucking gay ass haircuts and they ran with it. Like literally on stage, I'm at a comedy show at Ice House, and a whole person with a mullet, and she's straight. And I was like, I quit. They took our haircuts and they talk about our feelings. We have to figure out what our message box is today and what's controversial. And I think a good way of doing that is some of that political education, so we can figure out how to talk about things that I'm learning that I take for granted a lot of what I think people know and what I know. So we have to go back to the basics, right? Gender theory and all that shit, all the shit that they made dirty, right? Critical, like critical race theory. First of all, fucking that was law school shit. But still, it was all about not learning about fucking Black history or Black liberation theory. They called gender, critical gender theory and all that shit. Yeah, that shit's fucking awesome. So we got to go back. So there's always going to be a little bit of political education that is very intentionally shown. I know we already do that, but even that stepping stone, right? That sort of step thing is one of those things that we just take for granted. Anyway, okay. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to hit the question right quick because I'm so sick of my shit. It's a fast one.
Who is the most inspirational person in your life?
My sister. I mean, there's a, but my mom is on that list too. Everybody. Okay. The list is too long, but my sister, yeah, she just really found a way to make a slice of life that is really lovely. I have a niece and a nephew. My niece usurped me as my sister's twin, which is very fucking rude. But in a few years, she's going to be like in double digits, and you know, I'm going to slide right back in there. When she's off building her own little life, I'm going to slide back in there and be my sister's twin again. But yeah, no. And I can't wait to talk about it more at length. But in the interest of time, we got to go. Oh, my goodness. But yeah, I think I'm so excited. I'm so excited for everything that we are going to do. And I have such fucking implicit belief in it. And yes, we're all overwhelmed. We all have our own shit going on in this life. But somehow we get together and we find each other here wherever you are listening to this, and whenever I am, probably usually in the middle of the night, recording this. It's like we're connecting. And as long as we can keep finding each other, and as long as we never get too afraid to keep reaching out, we're going to be just fucking fine. More than that, we have beaten these motherfuckers every single time that they work. It's just that this is a whole different field, but that's okay. Because we got bush queers on our side. Let's go camp. Okay, I've lost that. Here we go. Just want to say thank you so much for listening to Dark Woke. It means the world to me. The show really is a labor of love. New episodes are dropping all the time. We're available everywhere podcasts are. Don't forget, Dark Woke is self-funded. If you love the show, please feel free to support it as best you can at Patreon/DarkWoke. Don't forget, I want to hear from you. Drop your voice note questions to darkwokejfk@gmail.com. Shout out to Carolyn and KR. And shout out to you, the listeners, that make it all possible. Also, I am tallying your responses for the longer episode versions. Currently, that's outweighing the shorter ones, but let me know anyway. Okay, love you. Peace.